KTBC, Fox 7 Austin. This is Fox 7 News at 9.
Good evening. The only real movement in the presidential deadlock, a truckload of ballots from Fort Lauderdale to Tallahassee.
The vice president's attorneys are still stuck between two courts trying to force another recount. Fox 7's Mike Rosen is outside the governor's mansion with the latest. Mike?
Dick, tonight the ballots, as you said, are there in Tallahassee ready for another recount. Just no court order to do it yet. And the Florida legislature is now just days away from jumping into this.
Vice President Gore's run for the White House literally riding on the Florida Turnpike. Nearly half of the million ballots from Palm Beach and Miami-Dade counties. Some 14,000 of them ballots that initially registered no vote for president that Gore wants recounted by hand. Deadline approaching.
We're getting close to the end, and we're trying to focus on those issues that we think can be resolved easily and quickly, because we're going to run out of time.
Deadline looming. Florida's Republican-controlled legislature calls a special session for next week. Its sole purpose to choose a Republican slate of electors. Bush's brother, Florida Governor Jeb Bush, says he'll sign it only if he has to minimize the threat of a dispute over the state's 25 electoral votes.
I don't believe it should be done unless there is uncertainty. And if this can be cleared up prior to December 12th, then clearly the legislature doesn't have to act.
Democrats see it as a backup plan for a George Bush victory.
I just think it would be a terrible mistake for our country if the Florida legislature and Governor Bush went ahead and did what they said they're going to do. And I hope they'll reconsider.
While the court plot thickens, Bush continues planning White House transition. The added presence of retired General Colin Powell, speculated as the Bush Secretary of State, adding to the campaign image that a Bush administration is inevitable.
The reason why we're moving forward with our discussions and the transition is because when the counting finally stops, we want to be prepared to lead this nation. That's what we were elected to do.
Gore's attorneys appealed to the Florida Supreme Court first thing this morning for an expedited recount. No word yet back from the court, with time still ticking. Tomorrow morning, Governor Bush's attorneys go before the United States Supreme Court. Oral arguments. They want to convince that court to rule that the Florida Supreme Court a couple of weeks ago was wrong when it extended the deadline for the recounts to come in, and therefore they say that none of the recounts should count at all toward Florida's final vote. Coming up at about 9:55, Bush and Powell. Live from the mansion, Mike Rosen, Fox 7 News at 9.
The presidential uncertainty affects the Texas governorship, but the 77th session of the state legislature will go on as planned. Newly elected representatives are in town this week, getting a crash course on what their lives will be like in a few weeks. That includes learning from the experts what are likely to be the hot-button issues in the House and Senate floors.
Education is hot because it's one of the largest parts of the state government. It's one of the biggest spending items. Environmental issues are hot because as the economy grows, as the population grows, we have increasing problems meeting a lot of needs.
Healthcare and the digital economy are also likely to be hot political issues. The session begins on January the 9th. The Austin City Council going ahead with the first steps to turn the city's old airport into a place for shopping, living, and recreation.
Fox 7 City reporter Jack Hirschfield joins us from the City Council meeting. Jack?
April called this the first step in a very long and tedious process. This afternoon, Council gave the okay to the city manager, telling him to begin looking for demolition crews to take down the terminal at Miller, filling up the 700 acres with homes, apartments, shops, and stores.
The main focus with Miller is to make sure the plan starts moving forward, and frankly, just make sure we start redeveloping that as soon as practical. Get some housing units out there, in 3 to 5 years.
Council also going ahead and giving the city manager the okay to look into saving the control tower at Miller Airport as a monument to the airport, which used to be there. Also, just a few minutes ago, it became official. Next week, according to Daryl Slusher, Councilmember Slusher, and Councilmember Will Wynn, they will put forth an ordinance in consideration of exchanging land over the aquifer already owned by Stratus Development Company and exchanging it for land at Miller Airport, at least a couple hundred acres. It's just something they're going to chew on next week and make some decisions later in the month. We're live at City Council meeting. Jack Hirschfield, Fox 7 News at 9.
Stock prices took another pounding today amid reports of a slow start to the Christmas retail season. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down as much as 3%, while the NASDAQ has fallen to about half of the record level it reached in March. We'll show you what's going on and who has been affected the most a little later in the newscast.
Austin police say the man who attacked women near Capital Metro bus stops struck again last week. Police say that 9 days ago, the man forced a woman into his car, drove to a secluded area, and sexually assaulted her. She says the man is Hispanic, 5 feet 8 inches to 6 feet tall, has a burn scar on his right hand, and is wearing a shirt with a Henry patch above the breast pocket. He's been linked to 6 other sexual assaults through DNA testing. If you know anything about this man, you're asked to call 974-5230. A dark pullover jacket has been found in the area following a bank robbery at Regions Bank on November the 27th. The patch was on the left shoulder of the jacket. The jacket is part of several items of clothing that were allegedly worn by the suspect, which were found in a neighboring apartment complex dumpster. If you remember seeing someone wearing a jacket with a patch like that, or you have any information about the robbery, you're asked to call the Travis County Sheriff's Department.
A man in prison for a 1988 rape and murder could be free by Christmas because of DNA. The new findings about Christopher Ochoa's case are the work of the University of Wisconsin Law School. New tests on DNA collected from the victim, Nancy Dupree, matched another man who had confessed to the crimes. That man is serving 3 life terms for other crimes. Prosecutors say they're prepared to schedule a hearing before Christmas. A man has been charged in the hit and run of a county constable outside a Dallas supermarket. 42-year-old Christopher Patterson has been charged with aggravated assault of a public servant, aggravated assault with a vehicle, and shoplifting. Both the constable and the store manager were dragged by the man's car as he tried to escape. Neither one was seriously injured. Austin's building boom is keeping firefighters busy.
On-the-job accidents are putting them into some precarious positions. Fox 7's Will Jensen is at Station 17 in South Austin with more. Will?
Dick, firefighters use a lot more equipment than the hose. That's because there's a lot more to being a firefighter than just fighting fires. Last night, a firefighter and a paramedic hung from a basket lifted by a crane as they rescued an injured construction worker. He'd fallen from the 13th floor to the 12th floor of a building he was working on. With no elevator or sturdy stairs available, the crane proved to be the safest plan. And just this afternoon, a man suffered an electric shock working on a new hotel. Firefighters say their technical rescues are on the rise, and often buildings under construction aren't the most convenient for emergencies.
There's areas that they don't have an elevator that's adequate for carrying a patient who's lying down. They're usually made for a person who's standing up. And often they just have stairs going up to that area, so it complicates the rescue a little bit if someone has an accident up there.
Fine, some good news there. Reporting live in South Austin, Will Jensen, Fox 7 News at 9.
In response to accidents like these, a group of construction workers rallied downtown today. They carried signs demanding better pay and safer working conditions. They say failing equipment is a big problem, and in some cases, employees are being overworked.
These people want to change. They want to change for the better. They want to work in a safer environment, and they're showing right here that they're tired of it. They want to be treated as human beings.
The rally was organized by the Carpenters Union.
Texas Rio Grande Valley leaders hope a big construction project comes their way. The South Texas area is said to be a top contender for a $500 million spaceport. That translates to thousands of jobs and another economic boost for the valley.
Free trade bridge and the development south of that in Mexico. We'll couple it with our airport and the presence of the Texas State Technical College and the Regional Academic Health Center. I think we've got a great opportunity here.
If the region gets the project, it will be spread over 10,000 acres of Kennedy County.
Good evening, everyone. We ended November on a bright note, but the weather will begin to get pretty ugly the next few days. The moisture will return from the south tonight, and a strong cold front will blow through tomorrow. Tonight, cloudy skies. That will keep temperatures in the mid-50s tonight. Chance of drizzle after midnight towards morning. Through the day on Friday, mostly cloudy skies, a 30% chance of light rain. Even though the cold front's going to move through late in the afternoon, I still think we're going to reach 66 degrees. The weekend forecast is still ahead.
Advanced Micro Devices hosted the Blood Buddy Patch program today. The purpose of the program is to educate elementary school-age children on the importance and process of blood donation. The children took a tour of the center's facilities, including donor rooms, laboratories, and distribution areas. They also received a Blood Buddy community service patch and a Buddy bead drop coloring book filled with facts about blood donation. The folks at AMD did more than just help the kids today. They helped fill a huge void at the blood bank, too. The Blood and Tissue Center of Texas sent out for an urgent plea for people to give blood today. According to spokeswoman Nicolette Abernathy, the center needs 550 units of blood just to bring the stock up to normal.
Well, right now we have a critical shortage of O's, and we are unable to deliver some stock orders, some regular orders to some of the hospitals that we serve. We serve 26 hospitals in 10 Central Texas counties, so that's pretty critical.
Abernathy went on to say it's critical that donors come in before the end of the year.
The Ronald McDonald House held their annual fundraiser, The Lights of Love, tonight. The house and grounds are decorated with thousands of twinkling lights. Each one represents a charitable donation of $10 or more made in honor or memory of someone special. The Ronald McDonald House serves as a temporary home away from home for families who have critically ill children at the Children's Hospital. Because of these donations, the house is able to accommodate families for a minimal fee.
And with enormous medical bills, $5 is a lot of money. And sometimes those fees are even waived, and that's why we raise the money.
'Tis the season for more Christmas festivities. The ceremony for lighting the Capitol Christmas tree will be tomorrow at 5:45. Still to come on Fox 7 News at 9, we'll have the very latest in the Mideast crisis. Then Carrie Schumacher shows us there is help for those suffering from osteoarthritis of the knee. And a little later, a famous actor is attacked in his own home. Details when Fox 7 News at 9 returns.
You're watching Fox 7 News at 9.
Mexican President-elect Vicente Fox is working to get his administration in place and focusing on Mexican relations abroad. This weekend, Fox will be inaugurated in Mexico City. 8,000 heads of state, officials, and other dignitaries from around the world are scheduled to attend this ceremony. Texas Lieutenant Governor Rick Perry and his wife will attend the festivities. They'll host a private reception for Fox after the inaugural ceremony. The Israeli Prime Minister's latest plan for peace is falling on deaf ears. As fighting continued, Ehud Barak declared he's ready to recognize an independent Palestinian state. But Barak wants to hold off on making tough decisions, like who will control Jerusalem for 3 years. Palestinian leaders rejected the proposal, saying it failed to address their main concerns.
Concerns over security at the Kosovo border have NATO peacekeepers busy. They're using metal detectors to scan hundreds of refugees returning from Serbia. They want to safeguard against more attacks by Albanian opposition soldiers. Military officials say it appears the entire ethnic Albanian population deserted the area. South Korea was the site of a very touching moment today. A family torn apart by the Korean War was reunited. Some of them haven't seen each other in 50 years. In June, leaders of North and South Korea held a summit in hopes of overcoming their long-standing animosity toward one another.
Coming up, if you suffer from osteoarthritis, there could be something easier on you than the traditional knee replacement. And just a reminder, if you want to help a needy family this holiday season, you can call the Christmas Bureau at this number, 453-3950.
Health and fitness news for you and your family. Fox 7 Health.
People who suffer from osteoarthritis of the knee now have a new treatment option.
Instead of the long recovery of knee replacement surgery, Fox 7's Carrie Schumacher shows us there's a new surgery giving patients the chance to get back to an active life.
Lieutenant Dominic Zemenzo was nearly forced to retire from the police department he's worked at for 34 years. He's one of 21 million Americans who suffers from osteoarthritis, a painful degenerative joint disease that affected his left knee.
Getting in and out of a car was very painful. A lot of times my wife had to drive. I couldn't operate the pedals properly. Stairs were a hazard to me. I just couldn't face them. Just their normal everyday activities were painful.
That was before Dominic's doctor did a minimally invasive partial knee replacement. The procedure is called MIS. Doctors need only a 2 to 3 inch incision to remove the diseased part of the knee and replace it with special smaller parts. Some patients can go home that day and with a few weeks of rehabilitation, get back to an active life.
Those patients get their motion quicker, they get their strength quicker, and there's a golden window in the first, let's say, 6 or 8 weeks when the patient can recover that knee and obtain full motion.
It's estimated nearly 20% of people with advanced arthritis of the knee are potential candidates for the partial knee replacement procedure. Dr. Alfred Tria says patients like Dominic who get the best results really pushed themselves during rehab.
Ecstatic. No pain. I maintain my job. My normal activities are just like they were before I had the problem.
The MIS procedure or Unity isn't the right treatment option for everyone. A lot depends on activity level, weight, bone quality, and extent of the disease. But for patients like Dominic, it's renewed his quality of life and put him back on the job. Carrie Schumacher, Fox 7 News at 9.
For more information on the partial knee replacement procedure, talk to your doctor or call this number, 866-FIND-MIS.
Still ahead, the artist currently known as Prince has a sold-out show in Las Vegas, but that's not all he's showing. We'll explain. Up next, a bus accident in Kentucky takes the life of a little boy. We'll show you how it happened when Fox 7 News at 9 returns.
You're watching Fox 7 News at 9.
A 5-year-old kindergarten student was killed in a school bus crash, and more than 30 other children are hurt. The bus overturned this morning in Christian County, Kentucky. Police say the bus ran off the shoulder of the road and the driver overcorrected. Officers say the bus then crossed both lanes, overturned on the road, and ejected the 5-year-old boy from the bus. There were 47 students aboard the bus. Passengers were evacuated from an air transjet yesterday in Atlanta after the pilot reported smoke in the cockpit. AirTran officials say Flight 956 safely made an emergency landing at Hartsfield International Airport. None of the passengers were seriously injured. The jet was bound for Canton, Ohio.
Actor David Spade was attacked in his Beverly Hills home. Police say Spade's personal assistant David Malloy used a stun gun to attack the actor in an apparent attempt to rob Spade. The star suffered minor injuries and was treated at the scene. By the time police got to Spade's home, Malloy was gone. Police say they don't know how the employee got inside the house. O.J.'s mother's home is safe from the auction block for another month. Eunice Simpson's house in San Francisco was scheduled to be sold Thursday to cover her son's legal bills. One of the lawyers who represented Simpson during his custody battle for his children after his wife's 1995 death placed a lien on the home to recoup her fees. Representatives from both sides negotiated a postponement until January the 11th.
What other artist could spark this kind of controversy? The infamous Prince has a new billboard so scandalous it's dropping jaws even in Sin City. The formerly clothed star is naked except for a strategically placed guitar and can be seen hanging inside one of the busy terminals at the airport. Picture that has some passengers shaking their heads. It's a promotion to hype his sold-out concert later this month.
Coming up next, we'll have another look at our top stories, including what the City Council is doing about Robert Miller Airport property. And with all the construction around town, what about construction safety? Will Jensen will show us.
We've had some very nice weather here in the last week of November, but as we get closer to the first weekend of December, it looks like it's going to turn cloudy, cold, and even damp. Details coming up.
From the Fox 7 weather team, meteorologist Zach Shields.
Hi everyone and welcome back. We enjoyed another bright and sunny afternoon. Blue skies overhead, but if you were looking towards the southern horizon, as we look at this time lapse, the clouds began to move in slowly but surely, and they're going to stick around a while. In fact, the next couple of days. Let's take a look at the current temperatures.